New Zealand and the power of satellite mobile. Newstalk ZB.
Well, good afternoon. There's a fair bit of disappointment today with the government's much-hyped energy reforms. Plans announced this morning included a new imported gas terminal and the government freeing up money for the Crown-controlled gentailers to build more generation. Consumer New Zealand, Simon Bridges of the Auckland Chamber of Commerce, and the opposition parties have all criticised the plans. Simon Watts, the Energy Minister, is with me right now. Hey, Simon.
Hey, g'day, Heather.
Oh, you made it in time. It was a bit of a run.
I did. Apologies for that. Crash on the bridge. Welcome to Auckland.
Yeah, but at least you're training for a half marathon.
I tell you what, it's great to be here.
So you had the speed to get in. Now, talk to me about this import terminal. How much would it cost?
Look, we don't have a price on it at this point. We're going to go to the market and ask what options. It's pretty complex building an importation terminal. You can have medium size and large sizes, but we're going to get feedback from the market and make a decision on it by Christmas.
Would you go medium or large?
Well, it depends what's available in the market. We want to make sure that we get this terminal in place as fast as practical, so we're going to have to consider what's available.
Right.
Most of the stuff comes in from overseas, obviously.
Large is $1 billion. You don't have $1 billion.
It can get up to some pretty reasonable numbers. Again, the way in which you fund this, there are options in the context of the providers are actually funding it. So we'll be looking at the different options. There are scenarios where the government don't contribute capital to this model.
Who would?
Well, there are models which you can enter into with some of these big providers to put in place the terminal, and then we'd need to think.
Do they want to, though? Because this thing doesn't make any economic sense. The gas that comes out of it is expensive, and there's very
We've
little
done some
in there.
market sounding already in regards to that. There is some interest out there in regards to that terminal, and so we're going to.
You can turn the phone off. To be fair to you, you did have to run in, so no surprise the phone's on loud. Who would do it if they wanted to do it, Simon? They would have done it already, wouldn't they?
No, because the last government had a pretty clear policy of, shutting down Huntly, shutting down oil and gas, which, as a result of that, left us in a pretty desperate situation last year. We've come in, we've identified the problem. We've got a lack of fuel, we've got a lack of generation when we haven't got enough water in our dams, and we've got a massive issue around sovereign risk because of what the last guys did, and now no one, has confidence to be able to invest. So we're having to unpick all those three elements, and the 10-point plan that we've put in place, you've got to look at it as a package of interventions. The LNG terminal is one of the interventions, but also the regulatory model that we're putting in place will make sure that the market does have appropriate firming capacity in a dry year. At the moment, there's no regulation of that in the market. We're going to work through the exact regulatory model with the industry and have that done by Q1 of next year. But in effect, we've asked Transpower to look at the demand and supply, see what the gap is, and then the EA regulator will enforce and make sure that gap's covered.
But how do you force them to have firming capacity if they don't? They would already have it if they could.
Currently, the market does not regulate to make sure that there is appropriate firming capacity to deal with a dry year.
We're talking about Huntly stockpiling coal, aren't we?
Well,
they're already doing that.
They are, but that is not going to be sufficient as we see a significant build out of more renewables and the fact that everyone is using a lot more electricity than what they have in the past.
What are your options for firming capacity? Gas and coal?
Gas and coal, that's what we've got, and realistically, that's our options.
Okay. The money for the gentailers. Which of the gentailers are asking for money to help them build generation?
Well, at this stage, we haven't got any of the gentailers asking for money, but the report identified that there is a perception that if they did ask government, the answer would be no. And that's because under the last government, the answer would have been no.
But Simon, they're not short on money, aren't they? They've got enough money if they want it.
Well, the reality is
they're paying it out in dividends.
Well, the government is a major shareholder in 3 of those entities, and any capital raise needs to be approved by government. Under the last government, they were not going to be approving anything with coal or gas even anywhere near it. And so we've been very clear to say, look, we will be investing if you ask us to, because we need that generation.
Are you wanting them to build more gas generation, more coal generation?
Heather, we need more generation. Are
you okay
and in particular,
if they build another Huntly?
Absolutely we are.
Do they want to?
Well, the reality is we're going to have to replace Huntly by about 2035 anyway, because it's coming up. Yep. It's about 60 years old.
Yep.
So we are going to need to think about what that model is in the future. Under the last government, there was no certainty. Huntly was going to close. I don't know how the lights would have stayed on last winter at all if we hadn't had Huntly, because I could tell you what, they wouldn't have.
Now, how much cheaper would electricity be if you just took it out of the ETS?
Well, we know that, in regards to the ETS, we've ruled that out. That's not something.
Why? Why would you do do that?
Because it's not going to be aligned with the government's principles around a credible ETS market, and also the peer review. We had 2 international peer reviews. They also discredited that and said that wasn't an appropriate mechanism. Because we've got an emissions trading scheme that removes emissions. That's the heavy lifting vehicle the government's committed to. And you can't just take electricity, one industry, completely out of the market and leave. Electricity impacts every part of the market, so it's just not a sensible recommendation.
How much cheaper would it be, though?
We don't have an exact indication of.
Well, I had a look and said wholesale prices might come down by up to 30%.
That is not numbers that are consistent with the analysis that I've seen.
What is the analysis you've seen?
I definitely have not seen numbers of that scale.
10 to 30% you haven't seen?
No, I haven't seen that.
So what have you seen?
I haven't got the numbers in front of me in regards
so
to
you don't
the
know what the numbers are, but you know they're not my numbers.
I can tell you what, Heather, they're nowhere in the spectrum in which you're recommending. We've got to go back. What's the problem?
The point that I'm trying to make here, though, Simon, is that you could make our electricity prices cheaper significantly, as opposed to the 2% that you're talking about. And it would make a big difference, right? Because what you're talking about is we've got to have a credible climate policy here. At the same time, we have mills shutting down. We have businesses unable to afford their power bills. You have got a crisis on your hands, but you want to keep your reputation as a climate guy.
The problem is that we do not have sufficient fuel to power our existing generation, gas peakers in particular, today. It is a fuel shortage problem.
Driving up the price, which is causing mills to shut.
And we need that fuel. And so the decisions that we've announced and the actions we've announced today deal with the problem statement.
Simon,
changing the ETS isn't going to solve that problem.
Yeah, but it does. What it does is it solves the price problem that you've got today, as opposed to what you're talking about, which is 2027.
The price problem that we have today is driven by the fact that we do not have adequate firming fuel in the market, and that is why the price is what it is. About $30 to $50 a megawatt is the risk premium built into the power price today, because the market does not have certainty that if we have a dry year, it can be covered.
Why don't you do what Fraser Winneray said, which is to take coal out of the ETS? Or at least price coal at the same level as gas?
Look, the reality is we're going to need gas in addition to coal in order to firm our electricity. And as I said, that is an area that we are proceeding with. Why not price
coal at the same level as gas? Because at least it's more affordable then for the country.
Because we're not in the market around trying to set prices. We want to make sure that we've got the appropriate amount of fuel to run the generation capacity we have today. And that we don't have that at the moment.
Is your announcement, which you have made today, going to stop the closure of mills?
It is going to put downward pressure on energy prices, and that is one of the major issues. Businesses want certainty. Businesses want certainty, and the interventions and actions that we've announced today will have an immediate effect on that downward pressure price. We've announced a number of those interventions. We're releasing the RFI around what the government's going to buy. We're going to do the LNG RFI next Monday. The signal that I've instructed Transpower around some of the regulatory work has started immediately. And, as a package of interventions, this is the most significant package of interventions that we've seen in decades. And importantly, it deals with the problem that our energy market faces, and that's a lack of firming fuel and generation capacity.
Simon, thank you for coming in. I appreciate you making the effort very, very much.
Thanks,
Simon
Heather.
Watts, the Energy Minister, 1:15.